This episode is brought to you by Columbia Sportswear. It's snowing again, and that wind chill is killer. But you're not worried about that because you shop the Omni Heat Infinity Collection. It's warmth perfected with tiny gold dots that reflect your body heat inside and protect you from the cold outside. No snow or chilly temps can stop you now. Go out anyway. Shop the Omni Heat Infinity Collection now at Columbia.com/infinity.
The holidays are a time to feel and create joy. And what could be more joyous than the look on her face as she unwraps a stunning new jewelry piece from Blue Nile? How about getting 50% off your purchase? Blue Nile offers premium quality, priced below traditional retail. Their online experts are available 24/7 to answer any questions and make sure you've picked the perfect gift. For a limited time, you can get 50% off at BlueNile.com. That's 50% off at BlueNile.com.
It's Saturday and the game is on. 10 minutes in, it's 3-0. I'm sipping back on a decan. I don't give a damn if it's 9 a.m. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. Give me beer or whiskey, wine or gin, anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team's got me drinking.
Back at it again with another episode of the Shades of Blue Soccer Show. For the first time in about 57 years, I think it feels like at this point.
Hey, watch that crack. Was that a crack against Thad and I? What?
What did I?
Whoa,
did I
don't drag me into this, man. I was ignoring his atheism.
So, right, we are the Blue Testament. My name is Cody Bradley. I'm joined by Thad Bell and Robert Russert, as always. And this time we've got Jimmy Mack joining us, another Blue Testament compadre. A little cross-pod promotion tonight.
Hello.
What's going on, man?
Happy to be here.
So everyone is surviving this post-apocalyptic world we're living in here?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Barely.
Sounds like he's doing nice and well. Let's just jump right into it. It's going to be defensive heavy tonight. Just as, Sporting Kansas City did not, we are going to focus on defense.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to defend anybody.
Yeah. So let's just start off talking about the center backs. I was looking at Chad's thoughts on the match, and he pointed out that it was the two oldest center backs on the team paired to start that game. I was also kind of surprised to see that after Vermes had mentioned he thought Winston Reed was tired, so it was kind of interesting to see him out there. And Besler all of a sudden making his reemergence.
I made the point in my article that two World Cup veterans, but obviously that didn't make much difference.
Well, it was kind of surprising to me to see Besler back in the starting lineup when we did, because Peter had such high praise for Graham Smith, and you knew eventually Besler was going to make his way back in at some point. But kind of like you mentioned that Chad pointed out, two oldest center backs on the roster. I thought Winston Reed played pretty well against Minnesota.
Absolutely.
They just weren't challenged very much by Minnesota, so maybe that's why he was kind of able to fly under the radar. But I thought he did pretty well. But yeah, I mean, this was his first competitive, league match since I think they said like May of 2018 or something like that. So we're talking like 2.5 years that he hasn't played outside of international football. And so
it's pretty wild.
Yeah, I mean, understandably he's tired, and then you've got athletic forwards, and especially on the wings for Houston and Albert Elise and Darwin Quintero. So
yeah.
both he and Besler just got exposed at times.
True that. Okay, so how about who's been the best center back on the team so far? We've seen they've thrown everybody out there. Who's been the best that we've got?
That's a good question.
It might honestly be Graham Smith, maybe. I mean, it's got to be
Yeah,
him or Puncec, but I mean, Graham Smith stepped in, and the defense was maybe not world beaters, but they were solid.
Yeah, I
So
know. That's kind of where I thought that this was like that question was going to end. Just like by default, Graham Smith has been, not actually bad any game yet. So it's like he kind of he just wins because of that.
I know Fontes has not put a foot wrong yet.
True that. True that.
I forget that he is still on this roster. And I don't even know. I don't remember at this point if he's healthy or not. I think he's at least close to healthy, if not healthy. But, like,
He is practicing and available for selection.
yeah. So, I mean.
Selection for the team formerly known as Swell Park Rangers or for Sporting Kansas City?
Yeah, I think we're all afraid that if Fontes is thrown in, he's going to turn it into a real shit show.
Yeah.
Well, if nothing else has been working.
I think it depends on who he's paired with, quite honestly. Who he's paired with and who else is around him. So
I do. I actually have that question written down here to talk about as well. What's the best pairing we think we've got?
I mean, I liked what I saw out of Puncec and Smith, but I think that might just be a function of, at this point, those are the two most athletic center backs we have on the roster. And,
most athletic for sure.
Besler's had a great career, obviously, and as has Winston Reed at some of the highest levels in the world, but neither of them are super fast anymore. Whereas, Smith obviously is pretty young. Puncec isn't that old either, but, there were the comparisons to he was probably the closest in athleticism to Ike that we've had since Ike left when he came in. And, they are able to cover mistakes that the rest of the team makes defensively more easily than Reed and Besler could.
Reed is obviously like very athletic, but I just at the moment, like we were just saying, no one's confident he's absolutely 100% fit and can reel out a bunch of these in a row. Right. But we did 100%. See, yeah, right. We did see some of the athleticism. Like he's the obvious target on all set pieces and corner kicks, and it almost comes off more than we're used to with this freaking team on corner kicks. But I do think at the moment the two that you threw out there, Jimmy, those are probably at least the most athletic. I think if those two were thrown out there, that's the ones I would be least afraid of.
He was also definitely upgrade in the air on defense part two.
Yeah,
he cleared out a lot of balls that we weren't getting since Ike was there.
And that was big, and that, as they kept talking about in the broadcast, of course, that was big against Minnesota, which is kind of their cup of tea. So he did do really well in that game, and that's why this was pretty disappointing to see such a far step back after being so surprised in his first appearance in so long.
Well, do you think there's any credence to the idea that Besler and Reed were chosen because they're the best passers, best on the ball? Any ideas on that?
Are they?
Well, I mean, Puncec isn't bad, and Smith isn't bad, but I think Reed, Besler are a step up on that. But
I would
that
think
maybe why they were paired together, because we were at home, and he thought that's what we're going for, is controlling the ball, controlling the play. I don't know.
And Houston has been bad in the past.
Yeah, exactly. It just seems like you wouldn't want to test the waters against such a fast.
Exactly, I agree.
Like that. Yeah. It just seems like not the right team to test the waters and have two slow guys that are gonna be trying to pass the ball around with these.
I agree.
These quick little motherfuckers running around.
I was just trying to figure out the reasoning behind it.
Yeah, I don't know. It definitely surprised me.
I mean, I think Bob's right. Besler in particular for Sporting has, throughout his career, he's been the go-to center back when we're trying to play out of the back. And, he can find those passing lanes and whatnot. So, I don't know, maybe Peter's thought process was, this is a fast team, especially up front. So we're going to need to be smart with our passing. And so let's get the two experienced guys in there. And maybe it just backfired. Because, I mean, there wasn't a lot of speed on the back line anywhere, really, for Sporting this past game. I mean, Zusi can bust his ass and make a gut-busting run for 80 yards to make a recovery after he's overlapped on the right side. But, I mean, at his age, he's not as fast as he once was either. So, it falls on the center backs. And I think it was Winston Reed One of the goals where Quintero made a cross across the face of goal to Elise, Reed just got absolutely turned around and fell on his ass, and it didn't look great. And Besler, was hesitant to step up at time. Like when Quintero scored the goal from the top of the box, and it was a fantastic goal, but Buzio was late to it, and then Besler didn't really step up, and Quintero just had too much space and was able to put it away.
Do we think those two could be better? Is it like was it the two of them were not maybe on the same page yet, having their first pairing together? It seems like they should have been two very experienced and smart players, and they were just a couple moments that were just like, wait, how did that happen with two guys that were this experienced? And it wasn't even always, they were beat because of speed or whatever. So I don't know. It was one of the more frustrating matches in recent memory, honestly.
Even when you have a team that's faster than your center backs, you have to play according to that. You have to be strategic how you play that. So I do think that they should have been smarter about that. I always hate to think about just the fact they're slow. You just have to be smarter about how you play them and strategically foul, be in better positions, all that. But you remember how last year we talked a lot about how when Fontes was so good or so bad, it was when he was out there with Besler, and he's a left-footed center back playing the right side of the center pairing. Did that mess him up? I think in this last two games, Reed was the left center back when he was out there with Smith, and then he was the right center back when he was out there with Besler. Could that mess him up? I mean, you think that much can mess up a center back like that? That's used to playing.
You would hope not.
Yeah,
if it is, then that's an issue itself.
I do think, though, along those lines, there is something to be said. I mean, when Sporting KC had their run a few years ago of almost being undefeated at home all year until we got smashed by San Jose. But, one of the real key points of that year for me was that there was pretty good consistency along the back line throughout the entire year, which allowed them to play so well at home. One of the tough parts of this year, just by virtue of the compressed schedule, is there's going to be so much rotation. And you always hear that, the chemistry between center backs and the goalkeeper, are really the whole back line, the goalkeeper, but especially center backs and the goalkeeper is so important just as far as organization of the defense goes. And when every game you're getting different pairings of center backs that have never played with each other, and they're playing left side one game, right side the next, but also you're with a new guy and you're still trying to get used to being in match fit and all that stuff. I think maybe not any one thing by itself is what causes the problem, but when you kind of start adding up all of these things together, they just start having a compounding effect, and it makes it that much more difficult.
Oh man, you're just beating me down. How about before we go to break here, let's end with let's try to find a positive. Can we find a positive of something?
I was going to throw something else out. Do you mind if I throw something else out?
Oh, good God, yeah, hit me with it, and then we'll find a positive.
Okay, well let's flip the script here. You're Houston, and you're looking at Sporting, and this is no mystery to the whole league. How do you beat Sporting? You attack where there's spaces that their outside backs leave. But, I mean, Houston's saying, okay, let's look at the left side. Let's look at, where the Zusi side, our left side, their right side. But then they're like, hey, we've got this young guy playing left back who doesn't – wow, their mouths were watery. We all know the talent that Houston does have offensively. Let's pull those center backs out. Let's make those center backs work. Look, what do we have at holding midfield? Oh, we got a 19-year-old. Oh, boy. I mean, good God.
Who's not a holding midfielder.
Yeah. I mean, just look at what Houston was saying, and you got to give credit to Houston to exploit those things and get Besler and Reed. Hey, they're two good center backs. Yeah, let's make them run crazy and have to cover everywhere.
All right. Well, all last year we heard that Sporting KC Nation was crying that the kids did not get enough playing time, and the second they do, look what happens, and Vermes gets in trouble for the lineup.
Yeah, there's honestly people calling for Vermes out after this one. Of course, they do it every time they lose, but
there's always a Vermes out crowd.
Yeah.
So is that our positive, Cody? The youth are getting some time.
Yeah, that was, if no one else had one, that's what I was going to use. And it also kind of aligns with one that I liked was I like the way Vermes has been using subs. I like this addition to the sport. That's one of the things I hope kind of stays as a result of this. I like the multiple subs. I like that Vermes is using them. Yeah, I like this development.
Well, and along the lines of, playing the kids, like I was pretty harsh on Jaylin. I know we'll talk about the outside backs here in a little bit, but I was pretty harsh on him throughout the whole game. But I did think it was interesting seeing Peter's comments about him after. So maybe this is a positive, as he basically was like, this was a learning experience for him. And this is one of those games where he'll look back on and take some things from it and do better next time. And I kind of expected Peter to be in more of an angry mood after the game, and was a little surprised that he wasn't. But so that's, I guess, a positive, is maybe it's a learning experience for a player like Jaylin Lindsey. But then also, we've all heard Peter talk before about how his dream one day is to have a full 11 on the field of homegrown players. And this was the first game where we had 5 homegrown players on the field at the same time. So it might not have been the circumstances we wanted to see it under, but it's progress toward that goal that Peter has.
Yeah. It's there. That pipeline is showing itself for sure.
That was my positive there, was having all 5 of them on there at the same time.
I stole it. Sorry.
So, hey, positive then. I like Cam Duke a lot.
Yeah, I do too. Cam Duke has been good.
Limited amount of time, but yeah, I think he's showing why they signed him and why they wanted to so badly.
Positive on center backs, like you guys talked about, attacking, aerial play, things like that.
Come on, guys, we got a DP Mexican striker. What the hell? There's got to be a positive on the offense somewhere.
But we were talking about center backs.
I thought we were talking defense
there.
If you want to, you want a positive on offense?
Not even just that game. Any positive that we can look at.
Well, okay. Any positive.
Well, Alan Polito is good. Gadi Kinda is good.
Yeah,
I think this team is going to be fine. And, we started off really well in March, and obviously got off to 2 strong starts. And then there was a 4-month layoff, and then it took a little bit of time to get into the swing of things. And obviously MLS's back was a little weird. And then there was another month and a half off, and now we're taking some time to get back into the swing of things. But, maybe one could argue that the closest, we've seen to what this team actually is was back in March, after they had a full preseason together. They trained, they were, in closer to match fitness, didn't have all this weird extracurricular stuff going on. So the sky's not falling. Give it a little time. We're still in first place in the West. There's a positive.
All right, you go. First place in the West. That's where we go to break, right there. All right, so we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back.
But it's a football night. But it's a football night. We can gather all our friends all around the tomb. That's not a better thing to do. But it's a football night. But it's a football night. When the final whistle blows, we're gonna celebrate tonight. When the final whistle blows, we're gonna celebrate tonight. When the final whistle blows, we're gonna feel alright.
All right, let's jump into the outside backs conversation. The other part of the disaster that was the back line in the last match. Where are we at with Graham Zusi right now? Graham, not so sound Zusi.
Well, is it anything new?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the thing is we know by this point what Graham is at right back, and he's fine, but his greatest strength at right back might also be his greatest weakness, is that he likes and Peter likes, as part of the system, him pushing up and overlapping on that right side with whoever's on the right wing, and he gets super high up in the attack. And obviously he used to be a winger, so he's very good up there, but that leaves the back exposed. And he's pretty fast, but he's not as fast as he once was, and he can make those gut busting runs, but it's not always fast enough to get back to make up ground that should otherwise be covered. And if the rest of the defense or the midfield is rotating maybe a little bit slower than they should, like what seemed to be happening against Houston, then it just leaves too much space for the wingers to work.
I'm just so conflicted with Zusi. He has always been, like one of my favorites, and yes, like you said, we all know he'll do those runs, and he does every single game over and over. Like he'll run 12 miles a game if you need him to. I even remember one specific play. He did it. He ran, probably 30 yards just to make sure to like get his shoulder in front of this one winger, and the second he did that, it filled the lane, and the pass wasn't there, and the play went another direction. And I just saw him like get to that point. He knew he had to get right there, and then you could just see the like, oh God, I made it. And then 2 seconds later, the ball came back that way, and he had to make another run forward and leap in the air and head it. And he got landed on the ground hard. And I'm just like, God, Zusi, he just plays so hard. I love it. But then, at the same time, if he gets outran, then he gets outran.
Yeah.
Okay, how about where is Luis Martins? What happened?
Yeah, that's a good question.
What Peter said in the press conference this week was that he had a little Achilles issue, and he's not on the injury report right now. He is for the last couple games at least. He didn't think he was game fit to start.
Okay, so he's not in the doghouse then.
Well, I don't think Peter would actually say that if he was.
Hey, he's done it before. We know he doesn't like to, but he has done it before.
Yeah, you have to be really in the doghouse for him to call you out on that. But I do think that perhaps he actually was injured, maybe in the last game in Orlando. So they went for 3 weeks or so before starting back up again. So in that time, he was probably injured. He would have been on an injury report if they'd have had a game at that time. But by the time they had a game, he was technically off the injury report and back training, but he had missed 2 or 3 weeks.
I see. So
well,
then
that's what Contis right now. He's off the injury report, but there's no way he would start a game because he just started up training 2 weeks ago.
It does make me wonder though, are they worried about his health from a longer term perspective? Do they not like what they see out of him? Is there something else going on? Because I know a few days ago there were those rumors that started circulating about Juan Sanchez Mino, who's a left back who can also play midfield. So maybe Sporting KC would have him more as a midfielder, but he's down at Independiente and he's a left back and he's 30 years old. So obviously this isn't a future signing if this were something that were to come to fruition. And they're reportedly far apart on a price tag. But when I start seeing Sporting KC going after 30-year-old left backs, I'm starting to wonder do they not like what they're getting out of Martins?
Yeah, that would indicate the an immediate need that they see.
Or it's a look forward to next year. Okay, let's drop the Zusi project and move Lindsey to where he should be. I don't know.
So yeah, the Luis Martins conversation obviously brings up the Jaylin Lindsey conversation. So my guy had a bad game. I'm obviously still a big Lindsey fan, but he definitely did not play well.
I think Houston, which is weird to say what I'm about to say, because Houston was last place in the league and they generally are not good on the road, but
ever.
Right. But Houston always seems to be a tough matchup for SKC. And I think it's just because part of it's the system SKC plays with the fullbacks pushing so far up to help in the attack. And then you combine that with the speed they have on the wings. It was just kind of a perfect storm where you have someone like Albert Elise, who's one of the most dangerous wingers in the entire league and maybe the fastest player in the league, just was able to feast all day when, Lindsey would get caught a little bit too up the field or he'd drift a little bit too far toward the middle and leave Elise too wide open on the outside. And there's just nothing he could do to really slow him down all game.
Yeah, there's not a lot of outside backs are actually going to keep up with him when he's full speed out there.
Exactly.
And I don't really know my judgment from when Lindsey was pre-injury to when I saw him last year is I think he lost half of a step from. I don't know if that's accurate or I'm just dreaming that, or that's kind of how I thought it was that he's lost just a little bit of speed. So he may still be trying to adapt to that or regain that speed.
Yeah.
Okay, so how about we go around and I want to hear everybody's starting back line against Colorado here. Robert, let me hear your back line.
Oh, gosh. Okay, so we're saying Martins is healthy?
Yeah, sure, let's do that.
Okay, I would put him back at left back. Center backs, I think it's got to be Smith. And, I mean, I don't know if I see Peter putting Reed in for a third game in a row, but then I don't know what Punchet's thing is. So one of those two. And then Zusi on the right.
Zeus again, eh?
I thought you called for the end of the Zusi project there, Robert.
I didn't call for it. I was wondering if it is or could be for next year. I don't know.
I mean, I think I agree with Robert. I think it's going to be Martins on the left, probably Smith and Punchet, I would guess, and then Zusi on the right. The biggest concern I have at this point is our backup right back was Jaylin Lindsey. Jaylin Lindsey's now gone a couple games, had a terrible game this last game, so I don't see him stepping into the right back starting role. That is his more natural position. But also, Zusi's not a spring chicken. He can't keep up this pace every single game. So if he needs a rest, then who do you put at right back? I mean, at that point, you're looking at, do we change the formation and do something crazy and play a 3-man back line and have a 5-man midfield? I don't know.
Is Amadou Dia just not at all capable of playing right back?
Well, that's actually one of the questions I've had is when we've been questioning how they're playing is Dia is not coming off the bench to spell somebody. He's not starting to spell somebody. So I think he's capable to play at that level. So
I also believe Cameron Duke can play some outside back.
They've said that, and they've said that that's potentially where he could end up. But again, I think as good as he's looked currently in a higher up spot, I don't think that'll happen unless they just need him to.
All right, so who's your 4, Thad?
Okay, I'm going to give you the 4 that I think is going to start, and then I'll give you the 4 that I want to start. How about that?
Okay.
The 4 that I think is going to start is going to be Lindsey, Reed, Smith, and Zusi.
Wow.
That's not the 4 that I want to start. If Puncic is healthy, I want him in there, either as Smith or counterpart. As I want the center backs to either be Puncic and Smith or Puncic and Reed at this point. I would start Dia over Lindsey at the left if Martins is not ready, and I would put Lindsey on the right to see if he is better at his natural side.
So Thad, you have Punchet as CB1.
If it's my choice, yes.
Yeah. I am at that same exact back line there as Thad. I would like to see. I think Reed and Punchet. I would like to see them lock down in a forceful way those positions and gain a good partnership. And if those two were paired up, I would feel pretty good the rest of the year if Reed can continue to develop, I guess. And I have no better answer on the right back spot than Zusi right now. So Zeus there, and I would like to see Lindsey again on the left.
Somebody shaving in the background?
Yeah, I was wondering what the heck is that?
My freaking roommate is sawing something on our back deck.
Okay.
With Reed, I mean, I know we've kind of moved away from the center back spot, but I think he is the starting center back for the rest of the year with some spelling for relief because he is he is going to struggle with the fact that he's not in 100% shape. He was killed in Orlando because he's not used to it. I think that's part of what he suffered here in Kansas City that last game. I worry about if he starts up in Colorado now. That's going from 2 warm games to an altitude game for a guy who's not used to that much difference. But when he's rested and healthy and etc., he should be the anchor of the center back pair, whoever else is there at this point.
So I want to throw out a question then, because this is something I've been trying to figure out. Like, obviously somebody here in the center back spot, and I know we've already talked about center backs a lot, but somebody's going to be the odd man out. Besler is not used to sitting on the bench, and fans aren't used to seeing him sit on the bench. It's happened to him before. He had a spell of games where he, was on the bench for a while, and he came back eventually and reclaimed the spot and whatnot. But if it starts to look like it's Reed and Punchech, or Reed and Smith, or Smith and Punchech, or some combination of those three, Besler's, I don't think, the type of guy that's going to want to just sit on the bench and not get some playing time. Is there a possibility, even though he's from Kansas City, he's a local boy, he's a club hero, that Besler at some point goes to Peter and says, hey, if I'm not in the cards to play, let's look at a move?
Yes.
I'm all for it.
Never will he do it. He's captain Kansas City.
I mean, I have some friends who are big time Sounders fans, and they're not happy with their back line, and they've texted me each of the last few games, and they're like, if Besler's not in there, would Besler go to Seattle? So
he has too much self-respect to do that.
I don't know that he'd go to Seattle, but I could he's a prideful guy, and he's played at the highest levels in the World Cup and whatnot. Like I could foresee a scenario where he's like, I love Kansas City, I don't want to leave, but if I'm not going to play here, I also don't want my career to be over.
Yeah, I've actually wondered that too, and like if he was going to move, what would be some likely choices? Nashville, because of they like our players, because of Mike Jacobs.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we at the point where we're talking about where Besler is going to leave? If that's where we've reached, I'm ending this podcast because I don't want to talk about that.
I don't want.
We're talking about potential landing places for Matt Besler. What the hell? Where did this podcast go all of a sudden?
I just think it's a fair thing to wonder at some point.
It certainly is.
I'm with Jimmy. It is a fair thing to wonder. I don't want it to happen because I would like him to retire in Kansas City, having never played anywhere else. And optimally, I would like to see him starting X number of games. I don't know what that number is, but I also thought it was telling that when he did start a couple days ago, he was not wearing the captain's armband.
I think that's a big thing too. Polito has claimed that captain's armband, and he is holding on to it. And
it's something I did not notice, but when Polito subbed off there towards the end, who did he hand the band to? Does anybody know? I didn't watch. I didn't see it, so I don't know.
Didn't see.
I didn't see.
Man,
cool. Well, way to pose that question.
If you can filibuster for a period of time, I can look it up real quick.
Oh, that's gonna
take me.
No, we have a cliffhanger.
How are you like fast forwarding through the game or something?
I was trying to go to the game detail to see at what point in the game he was subbed out, and then I have a recording of the game. I was just going to go there and see if it showed it. Okay.
Since Robert was in the press box, I was wondering if he perhaps knew what happened.
Oh.
At that point, I was still trying to catch up with all the goals that Houston scored and trying to put some description down.
At that point, you just say floodgate open. And I was shooting, and I didn't even think about it at the time, quite honestly. So it wasn't until like after the game I went, "Oh, who just?"
Let's see here. Sorry, I have.
Okay, Jimmy, you have the length of time as it takes for me to do my sign off here.
Okay.
Okay, so hurry up.
Well, wait a minute. That's just because you have buzzing noise in the background, Cody. That you're trying to get this over with.
No, I said we were going to keep it short. That I'm not letting you derail me again.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't derail you. You're the one that has the buzz in the background.
Yeah, and that's why I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go punch my roommate in the face, too.
Here's the subs happening right now. They're showing Hurtado come on the field, but they didn't show who Polito gave the armband to. Let me see if I can – you keep talking.
I'm trying to stall.
It'll be a mystery here.
I was doing pretty good at stalling for you, don't you think, Jimmy?
Yeah.
Okay, well, for real, we are going to get out of here.
I don't oh, man.
All right, was it Reed or was it
I think it's Besler. Well, it's so hard to tell, but it's not Reed.
All right.
Good. We're going with Besler because that's a feel-good story.
Towards the end of the game and see if
I don't know though.
At the end of the game, but
okay. Well,
it might be Zusi.
Thad, if you tweet that out and we'll.
Zusi was my next choice.
It's Zusi. Zusi's got the armband. It's not Besler. I can definitively tell you, Zusi's got it on his left arm.
There we go. There you have it. What a way to end the podcast.
That's right.
Zusi is the backup captain. Now we know.
I would have assumed it's Roger, but he was already off the field. So.
Yeah, I probably didn't want to hand it to somebody that was too far back.
Okay, guys. Well, Jimmy, thank you for joining. We appreciate it very much. Everyone go listen to his work over on No Other Pod. And yeah, thanks for coming, man. We'll, I always invite you. I'm gonna keep inviting you back until you tell me I'm annoying you.
Nope, let's do it.
Sounds good.
So be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Blue Testament KC, and join us at thebluetestament.com and leave us a comment. We will talk to you next week. It's gonna happen. We're gonna do it next week. Go Spartak!
Woo!
Don't seem so tough, and 3 own goals ain't all that rough. Our skipper has just been sent off. Supporters strong have all gone soft. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. Give me beer or whiskey, wine or gin, anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team